So up to the stage 5, we worked on our attention so that a meditation object is always present in our attention, and it is always present on the forefront, and our attention is extremely sharp, right? So there is no subtle dullness in our attention. And in this stage, we worked on the final component of exclusive attention, which is subtle distraction, right? So at the end of this stage, our attention will be exclusively focused on our meditation object. Okay. So now if we take a look at this diagram, the monk is moving ahead, and now the elephant and the monkey is following the monk. That shows that mind has been pacified and now it is following the will of the meditator. And there is a rabbit sitting outside watching the monk, and mind is moving forward. That shows that subtle dullness has been conquered, and there is a small fire that shows that there's some effort required on this state. Okay, so how do we overcome the subtle distraction, right? So if you go to the same explanation as the last stage, our intuitive experience of reality is such that there is this stream of experiences that I am experiencing, right? But on the more subtler level, this is more like frame by frame experience, and each frame can hold only one experience. For example, one frame can only hold sound. It cannot hold sound and sensation at the same time, right? And for the example, let's say I have the 10 frame which I'm experiencing. At this stage, out of those 10, around 7 frames are about my sensation on my breath, and 3 frames are about, let's say, something like pain in my body, right? And what I want at the end of this stage is like all the 10 frames should be about the sensation on my breath, right? Or at least as much of these frames should be about sensation of my breath as possible. So how do I work on this? How do I change these 3 frames to completely focused on the object of the meditation? We work with this using our intentions again, right? So I hold a strong intention to stay focused on my breath. On the other hand, I hold another strong intention to not being distracted by these distractions, right? So with these two intention firmly hold, I can actually subdue my subtle distraction. Okay, and there's another approach we take on this stage, which is if I focus on my breath, which is a very small area, right? So the frame of experience of that area are going to be small, right? And that gives distraction opportunities to come up, right? On the other hand, I can change the scope of my attention, and I can do this because now if I have overcome the subtle dullness, like when I'm changing the scope of my experience from my breath to my entire body, still my perception is sharper, right? So if I change my perception from my breath to the entire body, in that case, there's so much of these sense frames that there is no space for any distraction, right? So that is another strategy I can take to overcome this distraction, and this is what is recommended here. To instead of observing the breath, we can just move our focus to watch complete bodily sensation, and that helps us to keep the distraction away because there is no space for distraction to come up. And once we have achieved that state of exclusive attention, that is remarkable, right? And our experiences are now very different as compared to when we started. When I started, let's say, my experience of breath was not really the experience of breath. What I was experiencing is these, so many mental constructs around the breath, right? So I wasn't really experiencing the real sensation. It was more like I'm experiencing in-breath, out-breath, which is not really the sensation, but more like a construct of the mind, right? So our attention, when it's sharp enough and exclusive enough, it start to penetrate in the experiences, right? So instead of just observing the breath, at the first time I could really see the sensation. And when I'm seeing this sensation, there is no concept of in-breath and out-breath, right? On the very bare bone level, there's sensation, right? On top of it, mind creates this construct of this is in-breath, this is out-breath. On top of it, mind can create another construct like, I like this kind of breath, I don't like that kind of breath. And then on top of it, it can create another construct, I am watching the breath. And all these things are happening, right? And we can see them more clearly now, right? And that way we can perceive the nature of reality more clearly. And with that, we start to see things more as they are, as compared to what we have the formation of different mental construct in our mind, right? And with that, we can see these things like the nature of impermanence and the nature of emptiness in the different objects, right? So at this point our training moves from cultivating this exclusive attention to focus more on the nature of reality, right? And gain this sort of metacognitive ability where you are not just observing the breath, but you're also aware of different mental construct or different mental processes that are creating these different things behind the scene, and what is their true nature, right? And what are the different ignorance that we are going through.